Wow, we've had quite a day today so far, and we're going to have a little bit more. First of all, I want to be able to thank Congressman Delaney. You know, I've heard people come and say, are you going to apologize? And I like the fact that he says, I'm not going to give you a general apology. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be able to apologize for what we've actually done. And so I really take and respect that remark that he made, in which we're able to identify specific issues that have happened in Indian country and get some type of apology for that. A couple other things, if I can get my notes out. I read it yesterday. And I think it's important enough for you to hear about it today. What's it called? A survey was done all across the United States. They picked 1,054 people and asked this question. And I think this is very important for the Native and brothers and sisters sitting out there, being that we are less than 2% of the population, how we're going to take and make this movement work. And so the question was, do you support or oppose equal access for Native Americans living on Indian reservations to vote in federal, state, and local elections? It sounds like a simple question, and you would think, wow, 100%. But from the polls, 61% strongly supported this. They strongly supported Native Americans living on reservation having the same type of access that people off reservations have. And this is important. If we're going to go on to 2020, and if we're going to be a nation that is able to make decisions, you have to know we have people supporting us. 61% of the population strongly agree. All right, and then if you go at somewhat support, 13%. So if you look at that, we have 74%, basically under this poll, 74% of America that supports us having equality at the ballot box. So I think that's very important for us to, as we move forward, is that we have allies out there that are going to be able to help and support us in moving forward for 2020. And I think this is very, very important. This was done by Progressive Change Institute, and really it's one of the very first times that we had a major organization such as this that reached out to ask a specific question concerning Native Americans and Indian reservations. So I want you guys to go ahead and kind of digest that and understand that we have allies out there. We're looking for 2020. One of the other things I want to point out, I mean, this forum's great, and I appreciate everybody being here, but I also want to tell you that as of tomorrow, Four Directions is going to be loading up, and we're heading to North Carolina. We're working with the Lumbee tribe, and we're going to where District 9 happened, in which there was rampant voter fraud. And I want to tell you, throughout all of that, if you look on the Lumbee Indian Reservation, the county they were in, 4 times as many absentee ballots were thrown away or destroyed where the vote didn't count. And so what we're looking at now, we're talking about 2020, we're talking about 7 states. What we're looking at now is the test run. We have on September 9th a special election going on in North Carolina. We have, gotten the okay and from the tribe for us to help them during this. So if you look at how things are going today, the divide of what's happening in politics and what's happening in different states, the 2019 September 9th election is going to give us a roadmap of what we're talking about here is going to work. because we also have in North Carolina a divided side. We have these people that no matter what are going to vote this way, or no matter what are going to vote this way. And then we have the Lumbee tribal members. If they're going to vote on their issues, which way are they going to vote? But I can guarantee you there is about 40,000 eligible voters within the Lumbee Nation. And that election that happened that was thrown out because of fraud, that was 1,000 votes. Just 1,000. So can you imagine, depending on how the Lumbee members turn out in this coming election on September 9th, 40,000 eligible voters. Can you imagine now what the candidate that actually dealt with them and worked with the Lumbee tribe is going to be elected? That's why it's important. When we're up here as natives and we talk about the elections, we never talk about the parties. We talk about our nations and our people. And so it's always an issue thing. And neither party should ever, ever take our vote for granted. And if they do, I think they're going to find out it's not going to work that way no more. Well, I'm older. I'm hoping everybody is wiser. So with that, I'll quit, but I really like the fact that Congressman Delaney did not want to do I'm sorry for everything. I like the fact that he wants to have specifics, and believe me, we got plenty of them, in which he is willing to support as the president. So with that said, we're getting ready for our next candidate. And, this is history, people. This is history. You all made it. We had tribal leaders from all over the states. We have tribal members. We have the youth. We have our elders. You made history. Madak Epi.
Who's introduced her? Is she doing her intro at this point? Okay.
Wow, I bet you guys thought you were done with me, huh? The next presidential candidate is Kamala Harris, Senator Kamala Harris from California. And, I don't know how many people have actually done this before. If you have, next time I'll call you. But getting candidates and getting their schedule and trying to get things worked out, and they have prior commitments and stuff, it's time consuming, and sometimes you're pulling your hair out, and I don't have that much. But Senator Harris, and we've been talking to her, actually really worked her schedule so that when we were getting to the final moments, and we were looking at the polling, what if we get number 17, 18, 19, and 20, but we don't get, well, we might get 21, 22, 23, 24. That's really not a form, you know. And we, you know, we were really, really lucky to get the candidates we did, but then all of a sudden, we get a call from Senator Harris and said, I would love to participate in this Frank LaMere Native American presidential forum. And it was all at the last minute. And it was like, yes, you know. But there's more to that. It's not that she's just running for a candidate. She was the Attorney General before. And if you heard us talk, and we talked about the Remove the Stain Act. We also turned around and we talked about the missing and murdered Indigenous women and children. And throughout her career as an Attorney General, what she was able to do was she was able to do investigations and prosecution into gangs in which they were using the gangs for sex trafficking, which again, we were having women who were murdered, children who were murdered, or put into sex trafficking. And she was able to prosecute these gangs, and it's not easy. I was in law enforcement. You know, you have so many people within a gang, you have to have real solid evidence. It doesn't just happen overnight. You have to work at it, and you have to keep on investigating. It's not an overnight thing. But she was able, using her powers as Attorney General and law enforcement, to find these gangs and to turn around and to prosecute them. And by doing so, was able to save some of the women and some of the children that were being affected by this. But that wasn't enough. What she was able to do then, she was able to do case studies, look into why this was happening, how it was happening, and doing whatever was necessary in order to stop the sex trafficking of women and children. So I'm really happy, not only because she's a presidential candidate, but a candidate that has actually worked at what we are talking about, what is destroying Indian country. So having the missing and having the murdered Indigenous women and children, having somebody that has the knowledge behind that, and being able to work, and whether it's as a president, which everybody's hoping for, or whether it's as a United States Senator. Either way, it's a win-win for Indian country. And we need to make sure that as we go through this, we understand that this isn't just about I got you moment. We need to learn from what they've been able to accomplish, and they need to learn of what we need as far as our issues. So, I hope that as we go through this in the panel here, hey, John. John Eckelhawk, Native American Rights Fund, and I have to bring this up here. Native American Rights Fund has been here for a long time, but John has been the executive director. And recently, we fight ICWA cases every 10 years that we go to the Supreme Court. And every time that we fight them, we look at NARF, and what NARF has been able to do has been able to win these cases for our families and our children. So, thank you. And I know I'm supposed to be introducing camera, but I saw John and I had to tell you. So hopefully, as we get going, you'll think of questions that may not be answered here. But guess what? They were here. That means that those questions that you couldn't answer here, you can now ask them, whether it's calling into their campaign, whether it's sending them an email. But don't let this momentum that we have die here. Take the power. Take the power that you have put together here today and yesterday. Take that power and keep it going. Keep that momentum going. Ask your questions. Make sure that you get an answer. And make sure that you take and consider whoever's running, whether or not they're hearing what you say. And I've talked to a lot of press. And one of the things they go is, you know, what are you Indians looking for? And so I went like this. No. What are you looking for? And we said equality. And I said, you know, when we're here and we talk to you, more than likely we can't. But all we're asking for is when you go out on these campaigns and you have these debates and you're talking to America and you're saying, I'm going to do this for you, I'm going to do that for you. All we're asking is equality. And so, all right. All we're asking for is equality, and that means that what we want here is we want to have our voice heard equally as your voice. That's what this is about. So on that, I'd like to introduce Senator Kamala Harris, the presidential candidate, and I hope everybody listens well. The panelists, great questions. And again, thank you for being here.
Am I on? What's up? Oh. Hi, it's Kamala Harris, and I'm honored to be a part of the Frank LaMere Native American Presidential Forum. OJ, thank you for your words. I'm looking forward to our discussion. I only have a few comments to make as we begin. And it is that there's unequivocal support and respect that I have for the sovereignty of Native tribes. And that this is a lifelong commitment. I was raised and grew up always knowing about and feeling very strongly about what we need to do to speak truth about the generations of violence and oppression that have occurred against our Native Americans at the hands of the American government, of the United States government. And there is work we need to do and continue to do that is about not only restoring tribal land, but also acknowledging the historical trauma that has resulted from those many years of violence and frankly, crimes that were committed. These were crimes that ranged from murder and rape to theft in profound proportions. And so I am honored to be with the leaders who are a part of this forum. I thank you for bringing us all together. I'm sorry I am not there in person, but I thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak to you directly.
Thank you, Senator.